Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshunamilitan Jena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Guruve Gaurachandraya Radhikaya Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadabhaktaya Namo Namaha Yam Pravajantam Anupetya Apetya Krityam Rapayano Vidaha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tan Maitaya Taravo Binedus Tam Savabhutam Hridayam Munimanatasme Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayat Bhaktya Vihina Parada Lakshay Kiptashta Kamari Tarangamadye Kripamai Tvam Sharanam Prapanna Brende Namaste Charanadavindam Tave Vasmi Najivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tam Nayanam Charanandike Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Okay, so we're going to continue hearing from the extraordinary Sri Bhajan Rahasya by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And we begin by offering our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Pada Padma Nityalita Bhavishta, Om Vishnu Parasto Talsat Sri Srimad, Abhaya Charnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada, and Sri Guru Pada Padma Nityalita Bhavishta, Om Vishnu Pad, Asto Tatsat Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, and our exalted Rupanuga Guru Varga. So now, continuing on, we have been, let's say, yesterday at the end of the purport, we heard this statement and this commentary by Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj. Actually, it wasn't a commentary, it's a verse from the Padma Purana, and it said that that wretched person who commits seva aparad at the lotus feet of Sri Hari can become freed from his offense if he takes shelter of the holy name. Every kind of aparad is nullified by service to the holy name. And then all perfection is attained by chanting the holy name without anarthas and with a sense of one's relationship with the Lord, continuously and uninterruptedly like an unbroken stream of oil. So having said that, now Bhaktivinoda Thakur is quoting 4 verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam, which 4 verses from the 9th chapter of the 2nd canto, what we know as the Catuh Slokie, the original 4 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam. And he quotes them one after the other, because he's saying, he quoted before, that we have to chant with a sense of relationship with the Lord. How do we cultivate a relationship? At this point, with a supreme entity who we can't see, we can't touch, we can't hear, what connection do we have? Well, we can make a connection by hearing, right? Not with these ears, but with sound vibration coming from self-realized souls and preserved in revealed scripture. And by hearing that from greatly advanced devotees, and by even on our own studying, reciting, etc., then a sense of that relationship can awaken, and a sense of who that personality is. Because right now we're pursuing relationship with all the other conditioned living entities, right? Because we're all seeking the same thing. We're seeking happiness through relationship and love. And everything else that people acquire is simply meant to facilitate that. Wealth, land, homes, cars, jewelry, ornaments, clothes, all of that is really just assisting. What we're really seeking is loving relationships, right? And in that way, in this world, we say with family, with wife, husband, children, cousins, uncles, aunts, whatever, grandparents, we're all seeking that. But we can't fulfill that with limited conditioned souls, right? This is not our actual dharma. Our actual fulfillment only comes when we're connected with God directly. And of course, then the relationship with all the other living beings become fulfilling in the way that they're meant to be. Right now, they're quite incomplete. They can't give us everything that we are seeking, nor can we give anything that everyone else is seeking. Right? So this world is always going to be a place where people feel incomplete and unhappy. And even if you get what you consider to be success and happiness in this life, gradually time will take that away. Right? And your body, your senses, your mind, your intelligence, everything diminishes, and then everything that you've accumulated and strived for is taken away when you die. And then you start over again. It's just so sad. It's sad. So all perfection is attained by chanting the holy name without anarthas and with a sense of one's relationship with the Lord, continuously and uninterruptedly, like an unbroken stream of oil. And we heard yesterday Srila Rupa Goswami's verse, which more or less describes that. Anukulyena Krishnanu Shilanam, right? Bhaktir Uttama, right? This loving service performed with deep spiritual moods of affection, always wanting what's most favorable for the Lord, and freedom from anarthas, anyabhilashita shunyam, jnana karmadyanavritam, not covered by reward-seeking activity, right? By knowledge with the desire for material sense gratification or impersonal liberation, right? Nothing that is separate from the interest of the Lord, right? So then, now, 4 verses. Now, in this Bhajan Rahasya, the commentaries are somewhat short, deliberate, but in the Srimad Bhagavatam by Srila Prabhupada, they're very detailed, like 4 or 5 page purports on each one, filled with incredible philosophy. So, just to give you a heads up of what happened before that, Lord Brahma had been doing austerities for thousands and thousands of years, celestial years, right? And then the Lord finally appeared to him within the heart and spoke, and first Lord Brahma, seeing him, said, "Oh, my Lord, the unborn, you have shaken hands with me just as a friend does with a friend, as if equal in position, right? I shall be engaged in the creation of different types of living entities, and I shall be occupied in your service. I shall have no perturbation," that means disturbance, "but I pray that all this may not give rise to pride, as if I were the supreme." So Brahma is being given this incredible responsibility of the secondary creation, right? Providing all the planets, all the bodies, all the conditions in the universe, everything that is going to be seen here is his responsibility. The plans for all of that and all the living entities, they all exist in the stem of the lotus that he's sitting on, right? All the living entities are there, and all the subtle aspect of creation is there, but now it has to become manifest. So he's being given this power of creation, which is so beyond anything. The more you learn about the details of this material world, the more extraordinary you appreciate this. It's given in simple form, but when you really scroll down to the microscopic level of creation and you look at DNA, the function of a cell, the function, the interactions of the cell, a cell membrane, all the things that go into it, and then the interaction and synchronicity of all of these tiny little things coming together to create all these different types of bodies. And not only that, but the interdependency and interaction of all the different species, right, with each other for their own existence. The idea, the really simplistic idea of evolution through random combination becomes ridiculous. It's such a simplistic conception that nowhere near satisfies the demands, the complexity with which creation exists, right? And so Lord Brahma being given this power, it's phenomenal. So, but he's praying, okay, now that I'm being given all this extraordinary power, please don't let me become beset with pride. Now he's praying that. And what are we? We're prideful. What have we got to be proud of? What do we know how to do? What are we capable of doing? Nothing. We're so dull and inadequate in this world, you know. Even the most talented of scientists, the more intelligent and talented you are, if you're fortunate, the more you realize you don't know, right? It's only people that don't know very much that become proud. I remember when I was in 6th grade and we were graduating, right? And we had a big ceremony, and you know they played Pomp and Circumstance during our graduation. And we all walked up to the stage, dun 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 dun, and we got our little diplomas, you know. And in 6th grade, we learned a little world history, little math, you know, some of this, some of that. And I'm thinking, God, I know just about all there is to know. You know, that's what I was thinking. I remember that. And I said, what else is there to learn? You know, I've graduated from 6th grade. And that's the position of even the most learned persons. The deeper you go, the more you realize how much you don't know. The telescopes that now peer further and further into the universe, every time they go further and further, they see more that they've never known before, and they become more and more bewildered. I think, what is it, that Voyager, that little satellite? It just finally reached what they consider to be the edge of the universe, and it came across some fiery wall that was, I don't know, what was it, 3,500 degrees centigrade, something like that. What is that it's encountered? They have no idea. I have no idea either. I just know that the universe itself has walls, subtle earth, right? Subtle water, subtle fire, subtle air, right? Subtle sky. And I don't know that this is that, because there's so much more beyond where that thing was. But it just makes you wonder about the nature of this incredible description of the universe and its creation, and what it's all about. So now the Lord is giving Lord Brahma 4 essential shlokas, right? And Bhaktivinoda Thakur, after saying that we all have to chant with a sense of relationship with the Lord, he says everyone should endeavor to attain knowledge of Krishna Sarup, and oneself, Atma Sarup. One first attains knowledge of Krishna's form and qualities, and then of his pastimes. Catuh Slokie Bhagavat, the first one, 33rd verse of the 9th chapter of the 2nd canto, right? So he's saying first knowledge, right? We get some philosophical conception. Then, when we hear the pastimes, we may not be so inclined to think them ordinary like our own pastimes, which is the fault and the limitation of people who have not studied this philosophy. So that first Catuh Slokie, the Lord says, Aham eva sam eva gre nanyad yat sad asat param paschadaham yad etachcha yo vashishyetassosmyaham. Bhagavan says to Brahma, before the creation of this world, only I existed. The gross and subtle, up to the indefinable Brahman, in other words, the cause, Sat, and the effect, Asat, did not exist. Nothing other than I existed. What is manifested in the form of creation is also I. After creation, it is also I. And after annihilation, only I will remain. So I'm going to read Srila Prabhupada's translation of that. He says, Brahma, it is I, the personality of Godhead, who was existing before creation, when there was nothing but myself. Nor was there the material nature, the cause of this creation. That which you see now is also I, the personality of Godhead. And after annihilation, what remains will also be I, the personality of Godhead. That's a verse very much like the Upanishads, right? Very condensed sutra, but a lot of mystery in it. It's me, I'm here, I'm not here, I'm everywhere. It's just very amazing. So in his Bhajan Rahasya Vriti, Srila Narayan Maharaj says, in this text, the words aham eva, meaning certainly I, are used 3 times. This is because Bhagavan is eternally present since time immemorial in his form possessed of all opulence. Bhagavan has used these words, certainly I, 3 times, to refute the doctrine of persons who consider Parabrahm to be without form. The implied meaning is, now I am present before you as a great ocean of supremely captivating beauty, qualities, and sweetness. I was also present before this creation. In other words, at the time of the Maha Pralaya, that's at the end of Brahma's life, the annihilation then. So I was present before that, right, when nothing was here. At that time, except for creating the world consisting of the 5 elements, Bhagavan was performing all his activities. Bhagavan's eternal, confidential pastimes were also present with him, as were his associates, who are assistants in his pastimes. At the time of the Maha Pralaya, the material universes are destroyed. But Bhagavan's transcendental pastimes and his various forms, abodes, and intimate associates are all eternally existent. So what's being said there is there's an eternal realm beyond what we consider to be the complete reality. Conditioned souls consider the material universe the complete reality. And even in that, they're limited because, what to speak of not knowing everything about this universe? They don't know about the unlimited universes that also exist within this greater material creation. It's like a giant bag of mustard seeds, and each universe is like a tiny mustard seed. And there's, from our point of view, unlimited universes. And in each of them, unlimited numbers of living entities, and planets, higher and lower, and all kinds of species of life, enacting their cycles of birth and death throughout the day of Lord Brahma, throughout the night of Lord Brahma, and throughout the lifetime of Lord Brahma. See, what is a day? That one day of Lord Brahma is about 4.5 billion years. Right? His night is of the same length. And he lives each year of Lord Brahma, it's 365 of those. 9 billion times 365 of those. And then his life is 100 times that. So it's trillions and trillions, the duration of the universe. But after every day of Brahma, there's a partial devastation, where he takes rest at night, and only the topmost upper planetary systems exist. That's where the sages and everybody retreat to, right? And so all of that there. But within this material universe, we don't even understand everything that exists here. Beyond that is a transcendental realm, right? And he's saying in this verse that I existed in that realm before your creation. I exist in that realm during this creation. And I exist in this realm after the creation. Eham evasam evagre. So he goes on to say, Bhagavan is present both before and after the creation. The entire material world is the manifestation of Bhagavan's Bahiranga Shakti, and the living entity is his Tatastha Shakti. Right? Therefore, this material world is not separate from Bhagavan. See, so this is the foundation also of the Achintya Bheda Tattva, how the Lord is simultaneously one with and yet different from the living entity and his creation. He's one with because it's an aspect of his Shakti, right? When he's situated in his Bahiranga Shakti, he's present everywhere within the universes. He pervades all the universes because within every atom he exists as his expansion, the Paramatma. And the living entities are all his special tiny, tiny expansions, right? That Anu Chaitanya, they're a very tiny spark of consciousness that reflect and have the qualities of God to a minute degree, right? So within this universe, we see the Lord in terms of his external energy, which is everything we see here, and all the living entities which pervade and actually sort of give life to everything. It's all moved by his energy and under the agency of his empowered representatives, the various demigods who are like the operators of the power plants, right? We see energy in this room. We see light coming, right? Where's it coming from? How is it here? Because somebody made light bulbs, somebody made power lines, somebody made a power plant, and somebody's operating the power plant. If somebody stops operating the power plant, then everything goes away, right? Breaks down to nothing, right? So, therefore, this material world is not separate from Bhagavan. Bhagavan is situated in unlimited Vaikuntha planets in his form complete with 6 opulences. In the material world, he is present as the Supersoul, Antaryami, the Paramatma, and he appears as Matsya and other incarnations when needed. All right? Just to boost and assist those who he's empowered to maintain and oversee and teach and maintain religiosity, the Lord himself also has to come to reinforce that, because this material world, things become degraded. One of the laws of the universe, second law of thermodynamics, whatever is complex tends to become uncomplex over time. Things break down, like the houses we live in. They're always breaking down. Unless somebody is trying to maintain them, they'll sink back into the earth. All around us are things that, over time there have been so many things that have been built up. There used to be civilizations all over America, Indian cities, Native Americans. They had cities of 50,000, 100,000. They're all gone. They sank back to the earth. Nobody knows about them. There are megalithic cultures that existed throughout time. Everybody's forgotten them, right? Without the influence of a person, things degrade, right? So The Lord's agents are there to maintain the greater universe, and the individual living entities, they have their role in the rise and fall of civilizations and everything that goes on, right? And the Lord himself has to come to prop it all up once in a while, to reestablish principles of religion, and to protect devotees, and to dissuade and limit the demons. So, according to the impersonalists, the Nirvisheshavadis, only the impersonal Brahman existed at first. To defeat this doctrine, Sri Bhagavan says to Brahma, beyond the cause, the Sat, and the effect, Asat, is the supreme entity, Brahman. That Brahman is nothing other than me. Few can realize my personal form, replete with transcendental pastimes. They can only realize the impersonal form, Nirvishesha Swarup. You, however, can realize my form, full of transcendental beauty and all qualities by my blessings and mercy. So all of these different principles, Srila Prabhupada explains in his purport, step by step. It's like a 5-page purport. I'm wondering, after we read these 4 verses, if we should not perhaps read Srila Prabhupada's purport. It might take us many days, though. And then we'll be checked in our we still have many verses even in this one chapter. Anyway, let's see. So text 29 is knowledge of the intrinsic nature of Jiva Shakti and Maya Shakti is found in Srimad Bhagavatam, 34th verse of that 9th chapter of the 2nd canto, the second of the Catuh Slokie. Rete retam ya pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani na vidyad atmano mayam yata baso jatatama. Oh, by the way, I just did a quick search. There are many learned devotees who speak on this Catuh Slokie in Srimad Bhagavatam. I haven't had a chance to listen to them, and it might be quite interesting, though. So, translation. The supreme absolute truth, Parama Tattva or Sarup Tattva, is the only real truth. One should understand that which is seen to be separate from this truth, or not existing within it, to be the product of the supreme absolute truth's illusory energy, Maya. The following example demonstrates this. Paramattva can be compared to the sun, which is an object consisting of light. The sun is experienced in 2 other forms, namely its reflection and darkness. Similarly, in regards to the absolute truth, reflection pertains to the living entities, Jiva Shakti, and darkness to the material world, Maya Shakti. So, Srila Prabhupada translates this, O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to me, has no reality. Know it as my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. Okay. So, Srila Narayan Maharaj explains, although the Jiva and Maya are both dependent on Bhagavan, a person does not experience them while he is directly experiencing Bhagavan. And while having experience of the Jiva and Maya, one will not have experience of Bhagavan. The intrinsic nature of the Supreme Absolute Truth was ascertained in the previous text. The Jiva and Maya are separate from Paramattva. When a Jiva can realize Paramattva, it is known as realized knowledge, Vigyan. This text 29 elaborates upon Maya Tattva. Paramattva is the only real truth. And that which is experienced outside Paramattva, and not within it, is the product of the illusory energy of the absolute truth. An example of this is seen in the sun and its reflection and darkness. A semblance of the sun is the reflection of the sun on water or on other things at dawn. The semblance does not exist without the sun. Similarly, Maya is only perceived when the creative energy of Bhagavan is manifest, and its existence is destroyed at the time of annihilation, Mahapralaya. Without Bhagavan, Maya is not manifest. Because what is Maya? Maya is the energy of the Lord. It's the expansion of his internal energy. It's a special form. For the creation of the material universes, that is entrusted with Karnadakshay Vishnu. Krishna himself is the original seed of the creative potency. He desires to enjoy Icha Shakti. So his first expansion, Baladev, the predominating deity of Sandhini Shakti, creates all the spiritual universe through Shakti, but by his oversight, right? And his Shakti of Chit Shakti, which he himself is the predominating deity of, establishes the truth and awareness of one's own identity and one's relationship with Bhagavan and with all things, right? And then the Ladini Shakti is overseen by Srimati Radhika, the loving, pleasure-giving potency. When the two are combined, the Chit and Ladini, this is the function of bhakti, one's identity and one's propensity to experience loving relationships, giving pleasure to Krishna, receiving pleasure from Krishna, right? This is originally and completely manifest in the eternal loving exchanges between Radha and Krishna, always striving to give each other pleasure and experience pleasure. And the entire spiritual world is an expansion of that. Krishna expands in Braj into so many forms. Why? To taste Srimati Radhika's infinite ways of giving him pleasure. And she expands herself into infinite forms of gopis to give him pleasure in infinite ways. There's no hierarchy here of Krishna's greater because he's got so many forms and she's serving him in so many ways. He takes so many forms to taste her love in so many ways and to exchange and give her the joy of his love in so many ways. But the material, and then all the different Vaikuntha realms are expressions of that with different tastes, because there are unlimited spiritual entities who want to share and serve the Lord in different moods. This is described in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So there are so many living entities, eternal associates of the Lord, who want to serve him as Matsya, who want to serve him as Varaha, who want to serve him as Nrsimha. That's all described very, very beautifully. And they take the forms suitable for that. And they're all completely satisfied in that. But the material universe has a different purpose. It's to give living entities who don't want to serve in selfless love a place for them where they can enact their own independent pastimes. Out of neglect, they look towards this material universe. So the material universe, the desire to create that is invested in Mahavishnu, Karnadakshay Vishnu, right? But even he will not do that directly, because he will not touch the material universe directly. Instead, and his energy will not touch the material universe directly, Ramadevi. So Ramadevi, his own Shakti, just as Krishna has Radhika, and Lord Narayan has Lakshmi, Mahavishnu has Ramadevi, and Ramadevi expands into Maya Shakti, right? Parvati. And a special form of the Lord, a special expansion of Sadashiva, the semblance of the glance of Mahavishnu is his creative desire, the desire to create the material world. But he doesn't touch it directly. He does it through this form of Shambhu, who is a special aspect of that creative desire that's allowed to interact and is empowered to act as the carrier of that creative impetus, the desire to create, which he injects into his own consort, and then she becomes the secondary cause of both the material and the creative impulse, right? So the material universe can never, anyone who's in the material universe, they're not touching or understanding the spiritual. They're different. They're different. But the material is a reflection and empowered by the spiritual. So Maya is only perceived when the creative energy of Bhagavan is manifest, and its existence is destroyed at the time of annihilation. So that same creative impulse, Shambhu, sometimes called Sadashiv, even here, injects that creative potency into his energy, and at the time of the Mahapralaya, he takes on the role of destroyer and burns it all to ashes. That's that dance that everybody knows about. So when there is light, so without Bhagavan, Maya is not manifest. Where there is light, there can be no darkness, but darkness is also perceived through the eyes. Right, so before the creative impulse of Bhagavan is injected, Maya exists as a potentiality, pradhan. Nothing is manifest. Then by the desire of the Lord, Mahatattva, the unmanifest potency shows itself, and then through that injection of all the living entities and that creative desire, then Maya Shakti begins to develop the ingredients for creation one by one. Right? And it's those ingredients that Lord Brahma uses to, he's like the contractor. He's like the contractor. He doesn't create the ingredients, but he's given the ingredients. Okay, here's all that you need to make all this, Here's the lumber, here's the nails, here's all this stuff, Go at it. So, where there is light, there can be no darkness, but darkness is also perceived through the eyes. In the same way, Maya cannot be perceived on its own without the help of Bhagavan. The transcendental world, Chid Jagat, is herein compared with the rays of the sun, Bhagavan. Using the same analogy, the jivas are compared to the reflection of Bhagavan, and the material world, Maya Jagat, is compared with darkness. The material realm is very far from Bhagavan, the transcendental truth. There are two kinds of relationship between Paramatattva and Maya Tattva. That which is experienced as separate from the absolute truth is Maya, and that which is very far away from the absolute truth and in ignorance of it is also Maya. In this way, by carefully explaining the inherent nature of himself, the Jiva and Maya, Sri Bhagavan explained Sambandha Tattva to Brahma. This requires a lot of time to get into in detail. But that's very interesting, the last part, just speak a little bit. Two kinds of relationship between Paramatattva and Maya Tattva. That which experienced as separate from the absolute truth is Maya, and that which is very far away from the absolute truth and in ignorance of it is also Maya. So that which is experienced and the experiencer, right? These are both Maya. The experience, the person who experiences it, that's Maya because they're covered by that energy, and that which they're perceiving and thinking to be their reality is also Maya. Right? Both are aspects of Maya. So Sambandha Tattva includes the knowledge of the jiva, its inherent nature, both conditioned and liberated, right? The nature of the material energy, the nature of the spiritual world, and the relationship between them all. The relationship and the differences between jiva and jiva, jiva and Maya, Maya and Maya, jiva and the spiritual realm, and Maya and the spiritual realm, right? The simultaneously oneness and difference of all of them. And without understanding Bhagavan in its complete form and his aspect as the origin of all of this, and yet separate from it, engaging with all of it, creating all of it through his various Shaktis, internal and external, it can't all be fully explained. Right? Properly explained. That's the gift of Mahaprabhu. Anyway, that's just kind of a very brief overview of it all. So we'll have to stop here for today and continue with Bhaktivinoda Thakur's deliberations on the second two verses tomorrow, offering obeisance to the Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda, and to our Srila Prabhupada, our Srila Gurudev, all the assembled Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.